Well, hi there, racing fans, and welcome to another edition of Winning Ways, where we're going to go through what's happened during the last week and bring you some very interesting snippets of information. And great to be able to welcome during Lafferty's winter break, Graham Hawkins.
Thank you, James. Compliments of the season to all our racing fans and to you and the family. Yeah, it's hard to believe that the year is drawing to a close. It seems to have flashed by.
Well, I think you and Laf will be reasonably pleased this weekend, because it seems like you ended up getting a win at last. Tottenham?
Oh my God, you had me. I'm talking about racing, James. Well, we got a draw against Manchester United. That was, I was thinking, which horse have I got with Laf, that one that I didn't even know I owned? Well, I think the draw with Manchester United was probably just as exciting as the win that we got. Nice to see Chelsea stumbling a little bit, and also Manchester City. How did they throw away a 2-0 lead against Burnley when they were going to be within 1 point of Chelsea? That could prove at the end of the season to be very expensive for them.
How's Mourinho sprouting off this morning about how unfair it is about the new diving rules and this and that and the other, and they got the worst of it because they were definitely fouled in the box. Fabregas was fouled or whatever. And meanwhile, I think Mourinho's team is known as the biggest divers around, aren't they?
Well, he certainly can whinge when things don't go his way. But you have to say he's had a wonderful season. He's really done well with the team. He's a character. You know, it's great to have characters. Soccer needs characters. Racing needs characters. All sport needs characters. And Mourinho, love him or hate him, he's a character.
Okay, well, we're going to see a couple of characters later on. We've got a lot of things to chat about. We're going to go and have a look at our 3 to follow. Right, well, we're going to go and have a look at the first of our 3 to follow. We're going to the Vaal, and we pick up a filly that Michael Azzi stepped out first time out, and she absolutely dawdled in. She won a very good race. Let's go and have a look at her.
She's in the Adrian van Vuuren Silks, and what a run he and Michael Azzi have been having. JP van der Merwe and Derek David have been sharing the rides. Derek David aboard this filly, Strictly Mine, jumped out smartly enough and travelled well behind the leaders all the way, James.
Yeah, and it wasn't a sort of mug field. There was a filly of Pettigrew's in on the inside. The Winter Approval ran second in its last 2 out of its last 3 starts, out of its first 3 starts actually. Kiana had form and was the one that was backed with Gavin Larena aboard, but I like the way this filly won. She looked like she had no chance of winning going through the 600-meter mark. There she is in the orange, tucked up in the middle of them.
Yeah, she travelled nicely, but obviously when Without Approval came through on the inside, it did look as if the favourite was going to go on and win it, but she flattered only to deceive. And then in the last 200 metres, you'll see that Strictly Mine goes about her business with earnest and draws clear to win a good race at the end. And as I think you're right, she can only have plenty of scope for improvement, and he's certainly one for the notebook. Yeah, they just gone beyond the 600 metres, and the favourites made a move down the inside and seems to be travelling better than the winner, Strictly Mine. But Strictly Mine actually responds very well to Derek David's urgings.
Yes, even here you think, well, there's no doubt the favourite's going to win it, and she actually falls away tamely. She might not get the 1600 on this, what we've seen here, but here the filly we picked out actually cruises past him.
Yeah, and then she goes about her business with some degree of earnest over the last 200 metres. As I said, she goes on to win it by a length or so, just a shade under a length. But given that was her first run, there has to be plenty of scope for improvement.
Mambo in Seattle, she's by. He's done quite well as a
he's obviously had that Group 1 winner in his first crop. I think they're well pleased with the way his youngsters have performed. And yeah, we wait the next crop with keen interest.
Okay, let's move on to the second one. And this filly will probably come on a ton from the race. We go to Cape Town. Let's go and have a look at the maiden plate. And this filly's Witch Hazel, beautifully bred. Eric Sands, Carl Nesius teamed up. Let's go and have a look at her.
Yeah, we're looking out for the white silks, the Forestfontein stud silks, the Susan Rout silks. Jumped away well enough towards the outside, show some natural gait speed right up there with them. You will notice that at no stage did Carl draw the stick on this filly. And again, given her pedigree out of that good mare Albizia by Western Winter, you've got to think that she's got plenty of scope for improvement. She'll have learnt a great deal from this outing. She raced alone, she never had any cover, and she didn't have the finishing speed to match those in front of her. I think she finished 4th in the race, and but with this experience and with her pedigree, one would expect her to really improve in leaps and bounds.
She's definitely bred to go a mile plus, isn't she? You know, to show this type of speed over 1,000 meters might be well worth watching her.
Yeah, she's towards the outside in the white silks. The front three have got away, but she stays on nicely under a hands and heels ride. She's in fact going to run 5th. She runs 5th in the race first time out, but certainly you've got to like the pedigree. I think they'd be well pleased with that debut run, and she's certainly one to follow when she goes over a bit further.
Okay, the next one we're going to pick up, we're going to the juvenile plate, and Walter was up to his old tricks again. Not in the betting really, but I seem to remember last year.
Yeah, this filly of Mike Bassett won the race, Weighty Katie. If you recall, Mike Bass stepped out an 800-meter juvenile winner last year in the form of 7 grand. It's very unlike the Bass stable to turn out 800-meter juvenile winners, but I have to say, at the risk of sounding wise after the event, I never had an interest in the race, but looking at them going down to the start, I thought that Weighty Katie looked hands and head and shoulders above the balance. But you've picked out Nordic Wind, who was certainly doing her best work at the end.
Yeah, let's go and pick her up at the start. Nordic Wind, she's one of the 3-way coupling of the Snaiths, and she's got a pedigree too, this filly. She's by Windrush, out of a Northern Guest mare, and owned by the Folkeses, who bred her.
Yeah, the winner gets away very smartly. Very professional performance, given that she's a 2-year-old over 800 meters. Quite a large filly. Nordic Wind is tucked in behind them. Didn't get the best of starts in the predominantly white silks. But at this stage, with 400 meters to go, and bearing in mind 800 meter scurry, this is at the halfway mark. The favourite the good wife was very disappointing. But Weighty Katie goes about her business in a very good style. But Nordic Wind is finishing on very strongly behind those and shouldn't be a maiden for very much longer.
Yeah, I thought that the Ali filly as well ran very well, because she gets badly checked there, gets pulled out of it. She looked like she might have run quite a lot closer. She'd be worth putting in your trifectas and quartets next time.
Yeah, it's difficult to know how strong that field was, obviously, but you can only go on what you see, and certainly the Ali filly, I'm not sure what her name was, but she ran on very strongly as well, and was interfered with slightly at a very crucial stage of the race. But Nordic Wind didn't get the best of starts and was given a patient ride, and obviously they wanted to see her running on at the finish. And again, these 2-year-olds can only improve by many lengths from one run to the next, so I would think she'd win pretty soon.
Excellent. We're going to go and have a look at our blast from the past, and the Cape season's in full swing. We'll talk about that in current affairs, but we're going to have a look at our champion, Beach Beauty.
All clear. Racing in the main Chance Farms Paddock Stakes. Europe to Africa, Hamizuka slow when the starter said go, losing 1 and 3 lengths respectively. Maximum Jet and Priceless Jewel, they began the quickers. Espumante is racing on the rail. Along came Polly. Is pushing past runners on the outside. Jet Aglow. Jet Supreme is racing back at the rail. The red body, the white cap, and settling about 5 off the leader. A length and a half next comes Beach Beauty, who's racing on the outside of In the Fast Lane, and Europe to Africa sits on the rail. Then we find Hamizuka. Do you remember Alaskan Maiden? Lana Falcon, Razzle Dazzle Rose, the two at the back. 14, 15 lengths cover the field as they take that turn. 1,200 meters left to go. Priceless Jewel, the one in front, sets the pace a length and a half, and Maximum Jet is racing in second. Half back on the inside, we got Espumante. She's just 2 lengths off that leader. A length away, we find Jet Supreme on the inside of Along Came Polly. Then comes Jet Aglow. 2 further back comes Europe to Africa, and Beach Beauty is 10 lengths off that leader. Hamizuka racing at her girth. Then comes In the Fast Lane, being followed next by Lana Falcon. Do you remember Alaskan Maiden? Razzle Dazzle Rose, corners of the back as they straighten up. In the main Chance Farms Paddock Stakes, 550 meters left to go. Priceless Jewel, the one in front, and Espumante is quick to move in and join issue. Maximum Jet is up the middle. Then comes Jet Supreme. Along came Polly. Beach Beauty's being angled to the outside, and she's starting a run. And so too In the Fast Lane as they enter the final 300. In front, it's Priceless Jewel, but look left. Here comes Beach Beauty. Jet Aglow is trying to go with her into the closing stages. Down the inside, we got Hamizuka. It's Beach Beauty that gets driven into the lead, into the final 100, and you can put the number in the frame. Beach Beauty from In the Fast Lane, Jet Aglow, and then came Hamizuka.
Well, what a field and what a filly. She absolutely slaughtered him, didn't she?
Yeah, when you look back at that race, that was a proper Grade 1 field.
Yeah.
In the Fast Lane running second, Jet Aglow won so well again just the other day, third, and Hamizuka fourth. She beat proper fillies in that race, and she did it with consummate ease. She was great. She's one of the greatest fillies to race this century in South Africa. That's certainly so, and also the most popular.
Yeah.
You know, she just attracted the fans' attention all the time, and now she's happy at home on the farm and in foal to Duke of Marmalade, and let's hope she has a great career at stud.
It's so exciting, but you know, when you look down the field, Graham, you see that Espumante, Lana Falcon, Along Came Polly, she was exported, I think. You know, as you say, this is a proper Grade 1 field.
Well, you know, the Main Chance Paddock Stakes, one hopes always attracts a top field, but some years are better than others, and that was a vintage year. And to see her win so easily was a measure of her class, her consistency. She raced so well at the top of her game for 4 or 5 seasons. Dennis Dreyer did an absolutely superb job with her, and yeah, she went out in an absolute blaze of glory, of course, winning the Champions Cup. Or rather the Garden Province Stakes on Vodacom Durban July Day, and then on Champions Cup Day we named the race in her honour, and she was there to say farewell to the fans. And yeah, it's Paddock Stakes time just about in a couple of weeks, so it'll be interesting to see this year's lineup.
I think we're going to have a pretty good lineup. There are a couple of horses hanging around that look like they are pretty serious runners for the Paddock Stakes, but there's no Beach Beauty, unfortunately. Plum of the week. This was an absolute plum.
These, they followed by Zacharias, who's trying to creep a little closer. 7 grand in behind these. Albananza, Eros's Girl. Rosie is tucked away at the back of the field as they come down to the final 400. Cold as Ice still strides along in front. Varicate up the outside. The Witch Doctor's in behind those. Balkan's dropped right out of it. Rosie starts to come on from the back of the field. Varicate now runs at Cold as Ice. The Witch Doctor switches in for a run, and 7 grand between runners. But Cold as Ice is finding extra and comes away again. It's Cold as Ice from Varicate. Rosier from the back of the field is charging home, but Cold as Ice too good. She stays on to win it in style. Cold as Ice over Rosier. Behind that Varicate. Al's Bonanza. 7 grand was further back. The Witch Doctor behind those. Eros's Girl.
Well, you remember this filly was withdrawn at the start last time in the feature.
Yeah, that was in the Avontier Estate Fillies Guineas, which was very disappointing. Looking at the race on Saturday, and I can't believe you tell me that Interbet laid 6-10. That was absolutely, that was like an investment. That wasn't a bet, because she couldn't lose this race. But watching the race, do you think she'd get a mile?
I'm not sure.
You know, she would have gone up against Majmu, who obviously in her absence turned out to be a very comfortable winner of the Avontier Estate Fillies Guineas. Obviously, it was a race that we were really looking forward to, so it was disappointing for the fans, obviously for the connections that she was withdrawn at the start. She behaved herself perfectly on Saturday, but she was out of the gates in a flash. She's got so much speed. For me, there's got to be a question mark as to whether she'll get a mile. I suppose time will tell, but certainly this was a very exciting performance because she beat some real talent here, and she's yet lightly raced. She's got a whole career in front of her. You know, there's a long way to go for her still, and she won with such ease.
The last start, she beat Double Whammy over 1400. She came from behind her, and Double Whammy seems to be just off the best around. So, you know, you'd think that maybe ridden a little conservatively, she might just get the trip. She might just be an exceptional filly, this.
I think she is an exceptional filly. And yes, ridden with restraint, you know, she might well get the mile. You know, beating Double Whammy over 1400 metres was a very, very solid performance. But whether it's a moot point, I guess. But whether she would have troubled Majmu over a mile, I'm not sure. But I hope we get a chance to see the two of them in action again. But it's unlikely given Majmu's plans.
Yeah, it actually opened 9-10 on Interbet, this filly, and there was some 9-10 available at the opening, and it ended up starting 9-20, but you could have got 6-10 on Interbet, which is amazing.
You know, priced up in the morning, she was 3-10 on race day, and certainly I didn't see much better than that on offer. Yeah. So she was a solid favourite, and obviously everybody's banker for the day. Obviously, Generalissimo on the day was disappointing, but otherwise, I think the results were pretty much true to form at Kenilworth. Yeah. They're having a great season down there.
He pulled up lame.
Yes, he did.
So there was obviously some sort of problem there. Anyway, let's go and have a look at what we've got in current affairs, because we've got a couple of good races to chat about, and certainly some very interesting news from around the world. Well, we had a couple of group races over the weekend, and we start with the perennial Christmas handicap. And what pleases me about the Christmas handicap is they still call it the Christmas handicap and not the Xmas handicap.
No, it's Christmas, James. It's absolutely Christmas handicap. We're just lazy human beings. That's why it's become Xmas. But certainly in terms of honouring a race with the time of the year, it's the Christmas handicap.
Always a very competitive race, and this year no different.
Absolutely, it's a Group 3 handicap, and as such you would expect it to be competitive, and as you said, this year turned out to be no exception.
All right, well, we went on the grass. Let's have a look at how they ran, and a wonderful achievement by Colin Scott, and lovely to see this son of Dynasty win this race.
King perfectly placed at the rail. King of Torches in the orange, then Emperor Niarchas. Great Rumpus is also in the orange near the rail. Then Fourth Estate, Royal Zulu Warrior, Silver Age. Then comes behind that one Mike's Choice. They're followed by Educated, Uncle Tommy and Isabar. The last two, they're a dozen lengths off the leader. Distinguished is going to bring him into the stretch. Candy Moon is also one of the trailers. Distinguished brings them in. Stolen Destiny, Diamond King in the box seed. King of Torch on the outside, then Great Rumpus, Emperor Niarchas. Behind that is Fourth Estate, and then Royal Zulu Warrior. Diamond King now goes a go at the leader, and it's Diamond King, Fourth Estate, Stolen Destiny on the outside. Diamond King, Fourth Estate's coming home well. Diamond King, Fourth Estate. Isabar's come from nowhere. Fourth Estate, Isabar runs on, and Diamond King, but it's Fourth Estate who's carrying too many guns. Fourth Estate won it. Diamond King second. Isabar maybe third. Candy Moon ran on really well with Uncle Tommy.
Well, he's 7 years old, Fourth Estate, but he loves this Greyville circuit, doesn't he?
He's an absolute course specialist, and isn't it amazing the run that Dynasty is having? Yeah, I think obviously Fourth Estate comes from his first crop. He's now 7 and still winning group races, but wherever you see the results of feature races around the country, you see the name Dynasty. Unbelievable run that Dynasty is having. And
he won it pretty easily.
He did. It looked a very competitive handicap, as we said a moment ago, and I think it was, but he just turned in a 5-star performance. He was obviously at the top of his game, back on the course that he loves so much. I thought, like you, that Tony Rivelin's horse was probably the right one at the weights, but he was just outrun over the last 200 metres, a game enough performance back in second. You have to feel also for Candy Moon. Had a horrible draw to overcome, was nowhere for most of the race, and came flying up at the finish. He's as honest as the day is long, and I think but for the draw, it's fair to say that Candy Moon would have given the winner a little bit more to think about, because he was certainly flying at them at the end, and he seldom turns in a bad performance. So yeah, a very solid performance from Fourth Estate, and nice to see Colin Scott pick up a Grade 3 winner.
Right, we move on from there and go to Kenilworth on the 27th, and they had the Kaya Diadem Stakes, and this was billed as the Walter Bass match between the two fillies, the two full sisters, but they got upstaged.
Forever, Priceless Jewel up on the outside, and Captain of All is just along those. Fly by Night is just in behind the leaders, and Copper Parade is creeping closer too. De Kock is also starting to make a little progress over towards the inside, along with Hammy's Hooker. The West is Wide is further back towards the inside. There's plenty of chances. Priceless Jewel's in front. Captain of All now puts on the pressure towards the inside. Copper Parade, Ashton Park is looking for a way through, hard up against that outside running rail. It's Captain of All. Fly by Night is taken off. Copper Parade is up the outside. Captain of All. Copper Parade trying hard up the outside. Captain of All keeping challenge at bay, and Captain of All stays on to win. Up the outside, Copper Parade. Fly by Night was behind those, back third.
Dennis Dreyer keeps the flag flying.
Unbelievable training performance. I mean, this horse obviously won a Group 1 race as a 2-year-old, and he's so lightly raced. He obviously has a litany of problems. I don't know what they are. I certainly haven't chatted to Dennis about them, but you only have to look at the way he's been raced to understand that he clearly has massive problems. And to come out of such a long break and win the Diadem Stakes, beating home the horses that ran first and second in the Mercury Sprint, albeit the other way around, Copper Parade and Fly by Night, shows the quality of the form. Whether or not they can keep him ticking at this level, I'm not sure, because, as I say, clearly he does have problems, but maybe he's got him over all of those, because he's got to be a runner in the Cape Flying Championship if he can keep him sound.
Absolutely. What the horse I love has got to get, if there's a prize every year for the most honest horse in racing, I would think Copper Parade's got to get it. He's been unbelievable, hasn't he?
Well, he's an amazing horse in that he has to travel to go for the rich pickings. He's based in Port Elizabeth, raced by Val and Peter Phoenix along with their buddies down there, and Hedley McGrath, and who else is involved, I'm not sure. But he's got to go to Joburg, he's got to go to Durban, he's got to go to Cape Town. And he does so. That's the exciting part, is that Yvette Bremner, and previously obviously Joey Ramsden. You've got to pay tribute to Joey as well. He played a big part in this horse's career. He won a Group 1 race in Durban as a juvenile, seems like an eternity ago, but he hasn't lost his form. He turns in one top class performance after another, and they fly around the country to take on the best, and it's, you know, he deserves another big win.
Well, maybe we should make an award for him, Graham. He's, you know, he just is a phenomenon. I love watching him race. I think that Stratum gets on with him fantastically well. And you look at the rest of them, it was quite a good field.
Yeah, I think obviously the horse that was a bit unlucky not to be closer was Ashton Park.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Because I think he's obviously very much improved.
Yeah.
I think that run showed that his second behind Legislate last time was no flash in the pan. Because but for the interference on the outside, I think he would have been right on top of them, and 1,200 metres is probably just a little bit on the short side for him. Disappointing run from Hammy's Hooker. Clearly all not well with her on the day. I think Fly By Night has done extremely well holding her form, but just found them too good for her on this occasion, but she'll be back with a vengeance. It shapes up for an interesting Cape Flying Championship, I think.
Yeah, it shapes up for a very interesting Cape season. That's, there's some fun going on there.
I think it's been a quality season. I think we can look forward to a really exciting 2015 J&B Met if all the horses stand their ground. The prospects of seeing Legislate going head-to-head with Futura, going head-to-head with Louis the King at level weights, because you know, it's basically a weight for age race, and they've all earned their Grade 1 penalty. We'll see if Louis is as good out of Johannesburg as he is in Johannesburg. I believe he's working up a storm down in Cape Town. He's been there for a while since his victory in the Sansui Summer Cup. He went to Cape Town immediately thereafter. So he's had plenty of opportunity to get acclimatized. And obviously Legislate was super impressive. A bit concerned that Futura was taken out of the race on Saturday, supposedly coughing, because albeit that it was just going to be a 1200 meter warm-up race, you don't like to see anything going wrong along the way. So it'll be interesting to get some feedback from Brett Crawford. Maybe you guys can do that to find out whether it's something potentially serious or just a minor interruption in his program, because I think Brett was on record as saying he's going to give him the sprint, then into the Queen's Plate, then into the J&B Met. And when something goes wrong, as you know, James, as a trainer, and your plans have to alter, then that could be a worry.
Well, he's still got time, and I just read on African Betting Clan about it, and they were saying that the horse actually just had a niggle. He had a cough or something, then they just had to take him out because he was under treatment. But the Queen's Plate is going to be the key, isn't it?
It's going to be. The Queen's Plate, obviously the Lormans Queen's Plate, which promises to be another great race day, which also features the Main Chance Paddock Stakes. So it's a big day's racing early in January, 3 weeks before the J&B Met, which is on the 31st of January. It's always, you don't want to bill it as a dress rehearsal for the J&B Met, because the Lormans Queen's Plate is far more prestigious than that and far more important than that. And they all want to win the Queen's Plate and the J&B Met, a feat that obviously Pocket Power accomplished, I think, 3 times in a row. Won 4 Queen's Plates in a row, but then failed at the final hurdle to win 4 J&B Mets in a row. So it's going to be obviously a real pointer to their various stages of well-being, the Lormans Queen's Plate. But a mile is vastly different to 2,000 meters, you know, and so I would think that over 1,600 meters, Futura may not be quite up to them, but over 2,000 meters, probably quite different. Legislate's probably at home equally over 1,600 meters and 2,000 meters. Louis the King, I would think, would also may not be at his absolute best over 1,600 meters these days. I'm not saying he can't win it, because class can prevail, but he's also probably better over 2,000 meters. So one would expect in the Lormans Queen's Plate, all things being equal and assuming they all run, that Legislate would beat both Futura and Louis the King in the Lormans Queen's Plate. That doesn't make him an automatic winner of the J&B Met. And I'm really hoping that all of these horses come through their preparation without any hiccups, because it shapes up to be a fantastic race at Kenilworth on the 31st of January.
Well, I think we've got some fantastic racing leading up to that. You know, you start looking at the Paddock Stakes and Cape Flying. There's, you know, just the sprints, the middle distance, the staying races just look absolutely brimful of real class.
Absolutely. Before we move off the J&B Met, because Mike de Kock may catch the show and say, have they forgotten that I've got a horse in the race? Do you think Majmu's... he's on record as saying Majmu will run in the J&B Met.
I'm not sure that he's on record as saying she will run. He said it's an option, because when I spoke to him, he said he's got 3 options available to him. And I think that was the Paddock Stakes, the Queen's Plate, and the Met.
Well, the Paddock Stakes and the Queen's Plate the same day, so he's got to choose between. I would have thought he would have gone for the Paddock Stakes.
Well, you know, he said that he might not run in all 3. He might run in only...
well, he can't run in all three.
But he might only run in one of them. But he said the Met was an option. I don't think he said that it was going to run in the Met. It will be interesting to see
what happens. I bumped into Anton Marcus the other day. Strangely,
how's his thumb?
His thumb is not too good. He's been through hell and back.
So you can't thumb through that cash.
The problem that he had, James, was that he actually got an infection in it. And he showed me photographs of when the infection took hold. And that's really what the real delay has been. But he's been away, he's been to a hydro, he's looking forward to getting back, hopefully on the 20th of January. That's his target date. We live in Umhlanga, and in 5 years, I've never bumped into him at all, and over 2 days, I bumped into him twice. But we got chatting in the payout queue at Stipes before you get confused. This was the pay-in queue at Pick and Pay. And he was saying to me, Graham, don't believe for 1 second that Majmu is not good enough to beat Legislate, Futura, and Louis the King. He said, I've written work on the filly, and she is very special. Because me, I'm a doubting Thomas as to whether Majmu, at this stage of her career, on what she has shown, albeit that she's a very special filly, that her form is up there with the likes of Legislate, Louis the King, and Futura. Admittedly, she's going to get a lot of weight, but still. But he says to me, Anton says to me, don't pass her over. She's a real runner in that race, if that's where they choose to go.
It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And, you know, if Marcus says that, be careful. But I've always been of the opinion, I know I had many an argument when she was made the Oxford champion, that she
Can we get that right once and for all? I know that it takes a while to adapt to change, particularly at your age, James, seeing as you tried to catch me out earlier and got all kinds of strange looks out of me at the top of the show when I didn't have a clue what you were talking about. It's the Equus Awards.
Okay.
The Equus Awards. The ARCSA Awards, they went out a long time ago.
That was when I was Yeah, it just shows you, at least I can go back, remember that far back, so it does help. But
that far back, Martin Locke was still the master of ceremonies.
I still see him around.
He's still around, yeah. All 75 years old of him.
All I can say is that Equus, ARCSA, whatever you'd like to call it, okay, the champion 2-year-old in South Africa was Majmu, and there's no doubt in my mind she deserved to win it. She's the best 2-year-old in South Africa that raced. And I think if a horse only has one run, and proves itself to look to be the best horse at that time, it deserves to get the prize.
Absolutely, and she was the highest rated by the handicappers by quite some margin. Apart from all of the form that you might have looked at, and I know this has been a very controversial topic, but racing is full of controversy. That's the way it ought to be. You know, one must be able to argue these things, but without losing one's sort of dignity along the way, or temper along the way. She was rated 6 pounds higher than any other 2-year-old, colt or filly, last season. But she's certainly gone on with it, and it's nice to see that she had never won a Group 1 race as a 2-year-old, and that was part of the whole controversy as to how could a filly that had not won a Group 1 race be voted a champion. But she was certainly a champion as far as the handicappers were concerned on ratings, and she has now won her Group 1 race. Whether she's, as we said a moment ago, strong enough to take on the colts, we'll see. Where will Active War go?
Queen's Plate, he's got to go for the Queen's Plate.
Well, I hope so.
Hasn't he?
Yeah, I really hope
which
so.
will be very, very interesting. And I would be interested in seeing Harry's son, if he'd stayed down there, running in the Queen's Plate. Because I think that, you know, he did the impossible to go down there morning of the race. He'd been to Joburg twice. He'd done everything. It's like, as I said to Laf, it's like trying to win the Triple Crown in America, win 3 of the biggest races that you can in 6 weeks. It's impossible.
Let me put you on the spot. 1,600 meters. If we believe, and I'm not sure you do, but if we believe that Legislate is better than Futura and Louis the King over 1,600 meters.
I do believe that, yeah.
Is he better than Active War over 1,600 meters?
Yes.
At weight for age terms?
Yeah.
So you'd be on the side of Legislate?
I think Legislate's a phenomenal racehorse. I think that we just haven't got anywhere close to what he is.
Well, I really hope that Active War runs in the Lawrence Queen's Plate, because when I rearranged that Cape season 5 or 6 years ago and brought the Guineas forward, it was with the idea that the best 3-year-old can run in the Guineas and the Queen's Plate. The previous program did not allow for that because they clashed. And it was my view that it was my view that we should see the Guineas winner in the Queen's Plate, and it gave me a great deal of satisfaction when Gimme the Green Light went head to head with Variety Club in the Lormans Queen's Plate a couple of seasons back. So I really hope that Active War does take up the challenge of the Lormans Queen's Plate against the older horses. It's an opportunity to match the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds.
Why. But, you know, you asked me the question about Legislate, and I think Legislate is the best older horse around. I'm not sure Majmu is not better than all of them. And I row with Anton Marcus.
I have to say, if we put the 2 Guineas winners together in a match race over a mile, hypothetically, obviously, it would be fantastic to do it in reality. But Active War against Majmu, each allowed a pacemaker, if you like, or a companion into the race. So a field of 4, I would have to back Active War.
That is what makes racing. Why can't we put something like that together? Do you know how exciting that would be?
It would be very exciting. I don't think we have enough money. And secondly, I think given the nature of the program, even if it, we're probably talking crazy talk now, but even if we were desirous of putting it together, it would be impossible to do so without affecting another race. You could never put it on between the Guineas and the Queen's Plate, and you certainly don't want to take away from the prestigious Grade 1 races.
Would it not be a bigger draw card? And let's talk about public and what we'd like to do. Would not be a bigger draw card than anything we could see over the summer season?
Mike de Kock just put Majmu in the Queen's Plate, and they can go head to head with each other and against Legislate.
The problem is, and this
can you imagine the Lormans Queen's Plate with Legislate, Futura, Louis the King, Active War, Majmu? The best of the 4-year-olds and the best of the 3-year-olds.
The problem comes not in the actual running of the Queen's Plate. It comes to do with draws and all those type of things, and other horses that are going to get in the way. To see a match race where you've each got a pacemaker in the race, the pacemakers pull away in the straight like they do in athletics, pull off the race and let the 2 race.
That got Pat Cosgrave into a lot of trouble, didn't it?
Well, that wasn't a match race, was it? The point is that you can have your own rules for match race.
Yeah,
and I remember some of the match races that we had, and you commentated on them. They were
Active
just
Brain
so
teaser.
exciting.
They were very exciting.
The build-up to them.
I think
was
we're drifting.
phenomenal. Yeah. Okay. Well, we drifted off the. but
talking about the build-up races to the JMB Met that you were starting to chat about. I mean, I think this Cape season has been fantastic. It's got lots of quality. I always said the hallmark of the Cape season is the fact that most of the races are conditions races and weight for age races. So with that, it makes the Cape season quite unique in the sense that the best horses should come through. They don't always come through. We've had upsets in the JMB Met where the best horse has not necessarily won, the best horse in on ratings. But it affords the opportunity for the cream to rise to the top. Whereas both largely the Highveld season and champion season here in KwaZulu-Natal is handicap based. And you need that balance. You need that balance. And, you know, I think the Western Cape season balances perfectly with the rest of the calendar on the Highveld and in champion season, because the best horses get the chance to run at favourable weight terms. You can't have all weight for age racing. It's obviously, you need that mix.
Yeah. Talking about seasons, I was reading about the new Saratoga season that they mooted for 2015. It's like 6 weeks and $56 million worth of racing and 50 graded stakes races over a 6-week period. So, you know, if you're a racing fan and you really want to go and spend 6 weeks racing, that's worth going to, just as the Cape season is for a lot of overseas visitors.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I just wish we could match the $56 million.
Just going to Japan, Gentle Donna ended up the champion of the Japanese season. She won the Akima Kinnan, which is the biggest race in Japan. I was surprised to see it's bigger than the Japan Cup. But it's
I was surprised when you told me that. I was also surprised when you told me that the public actually choose the final field.
They have a poll. And the public poll has a great bearing on what 16 horses run in the race. And Gentle Donna was the champion 3-year-old of the year. She won the Triple Crown, Phillies Triple Crown. It's $3.2 million this race is worth.
Amazing. But racing obviously in Japan is very lucrative.
Absolutely amazing. She won the Shima Classic. She went to Dubai and won the Shima, and then she got beaten 4 times in Japan. before she won this race. So she's by no means, had a good season, but this capped it. A couple of other things, Graham. Gary Bain is a jockey in America, got this off ABC. Once 62 years old. He's won a race every year of his life since 1979. So that's lower, 35 years. And he's won 1,100 races. He had 14,000 rides. 62 years old. Do you remember a 62-year-old that used to?
Well, Stanley Amos, he was riding winners when he was 62 years old. He was a great jockey. I grew up in Cape Town with Stanley Amos, and he was just a credit to his profession. He arrived at the racecourse immaculately dressed. He left the racecourse immaculately dressed. He was a master judge of pace. He often took advantage of what is now known as the Cape Crawl and stole races long before they turned for home. He was just a great character as well, and we did honour him at the Equus Awards about 10 years or so ago, shortly before his passing, for the contribution that he made to the sport.
The Oxford Awards then?
No, it was the Equus Awards then, yeah.
Okay.
No, the
Oxford
goes back to the 80s, James. But Stanley Amos was very quickly, a story at Kenilworth. We had a pile-up. I was calling the race. They were coming around the old track, and Stanley Amos came down. Now, bearing in mind this was late in his career, it was probably not quite 60, but he was certainly late 50s. And he came down and he hit the turf, and he slid along on his back and crashed into the outside rail. And 3 other horses came down. And so there was Stanley Amos towards the outside and 3 other riders. Who was first up and who was charging across to help the others? Stanley Amos. It was absolutely amazing.
It was an amazing family, the Amos family. They were
Cookie was his brother, of course, was the trainer. He was, again, we talk about racing's characters. Stanley Amos was a character of racing.
Interesting that if you talk to the trainers that trained around that time, his kit was absolutely immaculate too. And if you want to be a top jockey, your kit should be absolutely immaculate. And his kit was immaculate. Johnny Corkett was another one whose kit was out of the top drawer. And they presented themselves so well, those guys.
They did. We had great jockeys in those times. Bert Abercrombie, Kenny Michelle, they were great jockeys down in the Western Cape. Of course, we didn't see one another's racing as we do today. There was no teletrack around at that time, and we generally raced on the same days in those old racing years. And so you were very much provincialised. But obviously up in Johannesburg, you had Gerald Turner and Marty Skuman. Cool. And Raymond Rhodes and those guys.
Roy Curling, you had a team of jockeys up there that could really ride.
David Payne in KwaZulu-Natal, and Michael Roberts, and a few others. Dennis Bosch, I better mention Dennis.
You better mention Dennis Bosch,
You better give me a club at the races if I don't mention him, because once upon a time, unbelievably, when you see him today, he was a jockey.
Yeah, he was, but he ate an apprentice. That was for breakfast, a few of them. Sad news, Freddie Knights passed away, and he was a real doyen of KwaZulu-Natal racing.
Yeah, incredibly, Freddie Knights passed away on the 23rd of December, which was his 95th birthday. He actually passed away on his birthday, his 95th birthday. He was chairman of the Durban Turf Club in 1969 and 1970. That was a long time ago. That's 44 years ago. But he remained a fanatic of racing, and throughout his life, he was just an active participant in racing right through to the end. And our condolences go out to the family, but he had a good life, he had a full life, and we paid tribute to him over the weekend with the Gold Circle flags flying at half-mast and the riders wearing black armbands in race 4. And, as I said, he was a past chairman of the Durban Turf Club and a great enthusiast of racing.
It seems like, unfortunately, more and more of these real enthusiasts for life, are moving on, and do we have people to fill that void? That's.
I think we do, James. One of the perennial arguments and discussions and debates that happen in racing is that the racing fan base is getting older. I remember when I came into racing a long time ago that was also pretty much the topic of debate. I think that's the nature of racing. I think that you always want to encourage youth, and we're doing obviously what we can to try and encourage youth, without trying to promote the gaming side of the business, and that's where it gets quite tricky, because obviously with very strict regulation today, you've got to be very careful how you market the sport of horse racing and the gaming side of horse racing, and you've got to keep the two separate, especially when targeting the youth. But it's been a debate that's been going on forever, and it's in fact not localized to South Africa, as you know. It's a debate that has raged in the United Kingdom, in America. It's taken up a lot of people's time in Hong Kong, etc., where budgets are limitless. And I still don't think that we've come up with a formula that guarantees the support of the youngsters. I think Australia have probably got closest. But I think that, to answer your question, there will always be a racing fan base. I think there's a time in your life when you kind of attracted to racing as a sport. And perhaps that's more when you're in your middle years. And the Americans have actually capitalized on that notion and actually targeting more the middle to older brigade because of the reality that young people are developing their careers, developing their families, etc. You will always have young people interested in racing. They come from racing families or they know people in racing, etc., etc. But there's so much competition for their attention today. But obviously we're trying to grab their imaginations with the racing app and new websites,
let's
etc.
talk about all those things in your call. We've got to talk about them then. You know, we've got that's for you to tell us all about these things that are going on. Just finally, Dubai has started, obviously, but the carnival doesn't start till the 8th of July, January or the 10th of July, but Mike de Kock's got 2 runners on Wednesday. For all of those of you interested, Journeyman and Le Havre step out with James Doyle on Wednesday. So nice to see the de Kock machine stepping into action.
Let's hope they make a winning start.
Well, I think it will be very exciting for Mary Slack with Journeyman, and Le Havre's got a new owner, so it will be interesting to see how they go. Let's go and have a look what Graham's got to tell us about Gold Circle in your call. Well, 2014 has arguably been the biggest watershed year in KwaZulu-Natal racing. And Graham, you've been at the helm of this whole thing. It has been a most amazing year, and starting with the introduction of poly racing.
Absolutely. Firstly, there's a whole team that's at the helm of the thing, but you're absolutely right. It's been a watershed year for Gold Circle. And 2014 has been a very interesting year, a challenging year, a nostalgic year, a frustrating year. It's been a tough year financially, but it's been all of those things. You know, exciting, the polytrack, the development at Summerveld, nostalgic, the closure of Clearwood, financially difficult, particularly between March and the end of July because of the ongoing saga between Teletrack and the bookmakers and the removal of the international product from the channel, which cost Gold Circle dearly, in excess of 20 million rand bottom line. Fortunately, that all came back on air on the 1st of August, and certainly trading conditions have improved since then. But we were flying at the beginning of the year and looking forward to a real bumper year in 2014, and it's amazing how quickly things can change. As you know, the bubble burst on the dispute between the bookmakers and Teletrack in the middle of March, and as I said, the last 5 months of the financial year, which ended in 31 July, were very difficult. But through that, we had the development of the polytrack and the opening of the polytrack, and obviously the opening of the polytrack at Summerveld even earlier in the year, and then the building of the new stables at Summerveld, which have turned out to be magnificent. Obviously a few teething issues, but those are being sorted out by Tony and his team there, which are doing a fantastic job, and those stables have really turned out magnificently. The closure of Clearwood obviously it's always difficult closing race courses. But I've been very excited by the way that racing at Greyville, and particularly on a Friday night, has progressed in recent times.
Well, all I can tell you is last Friday night, which was Christmas handicap night and whatever, and you know, it was a normal race meeting, was phenomenal. I've never seen so many people. In fact, I venture to say that there are more people than on some of those big days where we have big races. There were a lot of people there.
No, there were, and obviously it is holiday time in KwaZulu-Natal, which will obviously also assist in bringing people to the races. But we've gone out there to partner with various groups of people to try and change the on-course experience. The Braai zone is an example of that, the introduction of the kids zone, the revamping of the lightning shot bar and introducing entertainment in that venue. All of these changes have been very well received. We've upgraded the Durban View Room. The Saddler's Arms was done a little while back. And so slowly but surely, the on-course experience, the introduction obviously earlier last year of the 2 big screens, our focus is trying to make the on-course experience one that the race goer, both past and new, can enjoy. We're not there yet. We're not at the finishing line, but I'm very encouraged by the way that the on-course attendance has grown over the last 2 or 3 months.
You've got something that I think that you really can make some use of. You put up a mechanical bull. It is such fun, that thing. And you could have a competition. Now start thinking about it. Start thinking about a couple of those lifesavers and those boys. Have a competition to see who can ride that bull at full speed, not at the kids' speed, because it's great to watch the kids on it and having a bit of fun. But it's a great draw card.
But I think James, you know, you fancy yourself as a bit of a rider,
a bull rider,
player. Yeah. Well, I think, you know, as part of the promotion of winning ways next year, we should see you and Laf start the ball rolling. If you want a competition,
no problem.
Then I think to set the tone, you and Laf must go head to head.
No problem.
Okay, so that is an arrangement.
I'll ride him to sleep. I tell you, with those,
that is an arrangement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Laf doesn't know about it yet, but when he gets back, we'll arrange it. So look out for the great mechanical bull match race. James was talking about match races earlier. Well, this is a match race with a difference. Laf versus the good on the back of a mechanical bull. We got Pierre Stradham when he was here on the 5th of January to actually get on the mechanical bull. But he said to me, Graham, this is a photo opportunity. Don't dare hit that start button. But you know, the mechanical bull was put there for a bit of fun. Not only for the kids, but for the adults as well. And I must say, it's been well worth the exercise. And we had a night market on the 5th of January. We had a night market here at Greyville on the 19th of January. December, the 5th of December, the 19th of December. We're experimenting, obviously, with what works and what doesn't work. And I think it's about creating partnerships. Our business is horse racing. We need to partner with people out there who have the ability to bring people racing and allow them to have a good time. And we've got a couple of ideas that we haven't yet put into practice, which we'll roll out over the next few months as well, because we've got solid Friday night racing, as you know, until the end of April.
Interesting point about polytrack nominations. As a trainer, I've noticed it. Far more nominations for the poly than you're getting for the grass. Is that something you picked up?
Not really. I haven't compared them because obviously at Greyville we've only just come back on the grass on the 26th, and certainly the reports from the riders have been very encouraging. And I know that it's taken a while to get Greyville back, the Greyville turf track back to where it ought to be. And obviously at the beginning of the year it was a great headache for us. And we're going to have to use the Greyville turf track quite cleverly and sparingly, because obviously it's very much narrower than it was. I think that the support for polytrack racing and turf racing will be equal. It has to be that way, because the polytrack is part of our program now. It's part of our facilities. It's there to stay.
As far as racing is concerned, you're now going to a whole new phase, because you have the poly and the grass track. What do we look forward to as far as the season's concerned? How are you going to split them up as far as the season's concerned?
Well, we've obviously the feature races will remain on the turf. We have no plans in this season coming to stage any of the feature races on the poly track. This is something that we'll contemplate. We've got a few choices here. Do we take one or two of the features and stick them on the poly track? Obviously not necessarily at grade 1 level. or do we start creating a few new features for the polytrack? That is something we'll work on. But with the season coming up, very little will change in terms of the way it's been before. We will obviously race through the season on the polytrack, but and obviously also on Vodacom Durban July Day and Super Saturday at the end of when we have 12 races on the card. 4 will be on the poly and 8 will be on the turf. But most of the race meetings will be turf, poly or poly. It's pretty much business as usual as far as the feature race program is concerned, certainly this coming year in 2015.
Scottsville has had a facelift. You've got a lovely new parade ring in there, certainly walking surface, and the track looks superb.
Scottsville's bounced back really well, you know, because of the development in Greyville. We've said this before, and we were very mindful of the fact that we hadn't given Scottsville a spring treatment last year. It soldiered on under duress. And the guys, even at that time, did a fantastic job keeping it going. It wasn't obviously at its optimum, but given the circumstances, they did a terrific job. We lost Inos, unfortunately, in tragic circumstances, but I have to say that Stembiso Dlamini has really stepped up to the plate. Alvaro van Sale stepped out of retirement to mentor him, and he's responded really well. Alvaro holds him in very high regard, as do Stembiso's colleagues Kurt Groenewald and Ralph Smout. And he's very passionate, is Stembiso, a young man who's still studying and learning his craft, but he's very passionate, and he's very ambitious. And he reminds me a lot, you know, of our friend there in Australia, who was nurtured.
Went to Randwick.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
and Navesh.
Yeah.
Randani, and Navesh was just as ambitious and just as keen to learn, and he's now at Randwick, having started out at Turfentine and Randkiesfontein. So yeah, Scottsville's looking great.
All in all, with the bottom line and the problems that you've had as far as the finances are concerned, have things picked up now? Are we back on track? What's the latest with the bookmaker saga? Because there still seems to be...
It's not yet been concluded. I think it's fair to say, obviously Michel Nairac, as CEO of Gold Circle, is dealing directly with this issue. He's in constant touch with his counterparts at Pumulele, Rian du Plessis and John Stewart. Obviously there are bookmakers here that we have very good relationships with, and we're looking to cement those relationships. We don't want to be at war. You know, this industry has a history of shooting itself in the foot and being in a conflict situation. We can't afford conflict in our industry. We really need to sort out all of these issues and create a platform from which we can grow. That would be my 2015 wish. My New Year's wish would be for the industry to settle its differences once and for all, to agree to disagree where we need to, but respect one another and build on the platforms that we've created. I see 2015 from a Gold Circle perspective as being a year of consolidation on the one hand, but innovation on the other. We need to diversify our income streams. Gold Circle has got back into the fixed odds business. We've launched Track and Ball. We will grow Track and Ball through the year. We've gone into partnership with the Eland Property Group to use Greyville 364 days a year. They've come on board as sponsors of the Gold Cup as a consequence of that agreement, and we hope, you know, they now have a permanent presence here at Greyville, and we hope that partnership, that relationship continues to grow. So we cannot continue just to rely on the totalised data income. We've got to be mindful of the fact that we owe it to the sport of horse racing that we capitalise on every opportunity to grow our revenues for the benefit of the sport. And that's what Gold Circle's mission is, to sort of, I see 2015 as a year of innovation for us.
Well, Graham, I've got to wrap it up, and I want to say to you, thanks for that wish, because we hope that it can come true. I'm not sure that everyone in this business can pull together. We've seen all types of things going on that where people are really pulling against each other. But
I think that we must put the horse back at the centre of our focus, of attention, and as you said, the customer. The customer is king, and racing has various customers. As owners are customers of yours, and you're a customer of Gold Circle and all of the punters and so on. And unless we can get on and try and repair the damage that we've done for the benefit of the sport of horse racing, it's going to be very difficult to make inroads, positive inroads with the government. We have to sort out our internal affairs before we can expect any support from outside, any respect from outside. And it's going to be a big challenge, but it's one that we have to face positively. And I think there is a responsibility on all of the stakeholders to play their part in repairing their damage.
Well, never a true word said. And as always, it's fantastic having you co-presenting this program with us. You know, when Lafferty's away, you're a great man off the bench. And thank you so much for all your support and help with winning ways, not only this year, but the years before. And we wish you all the best as far as 2015 is concerned. You're probably, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinion, the right man for the job. You'll get it done, and we've got full faith in you.
James, thank you very much. I think what carries it through for us, having spoken about the slight negatives, the damage that we inclined to do to our own industry, what pulls us through is the love and the passion for the game. There's so much love, there's so much passion out there amongst so many different groups, so many different people. And that's what will always come to rescue the industry, is that there are enough people out there who really just love the game for what the game is, the sport of horse racing. It is fantastic.
Well, if you're into the sport of horse racing, which most of you are, the new Parade magazine's out. We're going to get it up on screen now. Eventually, we've got to, there you go. The new Parade magazine. Andrew Harrison's just dropped it in. A great, great read. If you don't have a copy, or you don't get a copy, you're not on a mailing list because you're not an owner or a member of one of the clubs, you can get it from Andrew Harrison, Andrew H. at Gold Circle, at 30 Rand a copy. It is a fantastic read, and I think they've surpassed themselves this year.
The Parade certainly has also come on in leaps and bounds. I haven't had a chance to get through the latest edition, but I look forward to it. It's reached my desk as well. So yeah, anybody needs a Parade, if they can't get hold of Andrew, get hold of me, and we'll arrange that you get your own copy of Parade magazine.
Well, until the new year, all I can say is we wish you the very best for 2015, and from 2014, from Graham and me, have a great week's racing.